Imagine a world where powerful empires ruled vast territories, where ships crossed the Mediterranean carrying copper, tin, grain, timber, and precious goods, where magnificent palaces were filled with bronze and gold, and where different civilizations depended on one another. Then, suddenly, cities began to burn, palaces were abandoned, trade routes collapsed, and entire civilizations began disappearing into the darkness of history. Around 3,200 years ago, something extraordinary happened across the eastern Mediterranean and the ancient Near East. History calls it the Bronze Age collapse. But the biggest mystery is this: how could some of the most powerful civilizations of the ancient world collapse so quickly? Around 1200 BC, Egypt, the Hittite Empire, Mycenaean Greece, the cities of Canaan, and Cyprus were all part of a vast interconnected world. They did not just fight each other. They traded. Copper came from one region, tin from another. Grain, timber, and luxury goods traveled across the sea. And from copper and tin came one of the most important materials of the age: bronze. Bronze was essential for weapons, tools, and everyday life. But this interconnected world also had a weakness. If one region suffered a major crisis, the effects could spread far beyond its borders. And then, around 1200 BC, the cracks began to appear. The Hittite Empire weakened. Many Mycenaean palaces were destroyed. Several important Canaanite cities showed signs of destruction. Trade networks began breaking apart, and some settlements were abandoned forever. But why? For a long time, historians searched for one simple answer. Perhaps a massive invasion had brought everything down. And this is where one mysterious name appears: the Sea Peoples. Ancient Egyptian records describe groups arriving from the sea. During the reign of Pharaoh Ramesses III, Egypt fought against these mysterious groups. But were the Sea Peoples really responsible for the entire collapse? Maybe, but the story is far more complicated. Archaeological evidence shows that different regions experienced different kinds of crises. Some faced warfare. Some show evidence of destruction and fire. Some cities were simply abandoned. And in other places, trade almost disappeared. So perhaps there wasn't one enemy destroying the entire ancient world. Instead, several crises may have been happening at the same time. One possible factor was climate change. Scientific evidence suggests that parts of the eastern Mediterranean may have experienced prolonged drought during this period. And imagine what that could mean. Less rain meant smaller harvests. Smaller harvests meant less grain. Less grain meant higher prices. People were forced to move, and tensions between kingdoms could increase. For a civilization already dependent on trade, that could become a devastating problem. But the story doesn't end there. Some researchers have also pointed to earthquakes. The eastern Mediterranean sits in a region where powerful earthquakes have occurred throughout history. If several cities were repeatedly damaged, palaces, temples, warehouses, and administrative centers could become increasingly fragile. And when a political system is already under economic and social pressure, one major natural disaster can push the entire system toward instability. Perhaps that is the most important clue to the Bronze Age collapse. It may not have been one single event, not one war, not one invasion, not one drought, but a chain of interconnected crises. First, trade weakened. Then resources became scarce. Political instability grew. People migrated. Conflicts increased. And eventually, a world that had been connected for centuries began to break apart. Yet the most fascinating part is still ahead. Human civilization did not disappear. Old political systems collapsed, but new cultures emerged. Bronze gradually gave way to iron. New communities developed, and the ancient world entered a completely different era. The Bronze Age collapse teaches us something unsettling. Great civilizations don't always fall because of one powerful enemy. Sometimes they fall when an entire system comes under pressure from many directions at once. And the people living through it may not even realize that their world is changing. And perhaps the most frightening question is this: if powerful civilizations 3,200 years ago could become vulnerable because they depended so heavily on one another, could our modern world face a similar problem? Today, our civilizations are more interconnected than ever. Food, energy, technology, shipping, finance, and communication all depend on enormous global networks. That connection makes the modern world incredibly powerful, but it can also create vulnerability. A crisis in one part of the world can quickly affect another. Perhaps that is why the Bronze Age collapse still matters today. Its greatest mystery may not simply be, why did they fall? But rather, how much can we learn from the way they fell? Because civilizations can take centuries to build, but sometimes their systems can unravel far faster than anyone expects.